Welcome back. You're still watching Power Breakfast right here on Citizen TV, and it's that time when you take a look at the headlines. This morning we're privileged to have Gladys Wanga, who is representing Homa Bay County. Next to her we have Barak Muluka, political analyst. Good to have you back on this panel.
Thank you.
On my right, my left rather, we have Chris Wamalwa, MP Kiminini, and Wilbur Otichilo, MP for Emuhaya.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers.
Yes. Now, a quick look at the headlines on the Standard. Poll chaos, no place to hide for kingpins. Uhuru's party unites with Raila's ODM to lock out election violence perpetrators. A very interesting course as we head to the party nominations. So much vetting is happening with this talk of the Chapter 6 working group. And of course now that has to worry some aspirants who've been engaged in some not so good things, or behavior for that matter. Also on the front page of the Standard, defiant Joho summoned over fake papers. That's the biggest talking point this entire week. Joho's academic qualifications. And that's the main headline on the Daily Nation. Joho to be quizzed by CID over papers. Now on the front page of the Daily Nation it reads, there are two KCSE result slips. One for 1992 in which the governor scored C+, and a 1993 one in which a certain Ali Hassan scored D-. So which is a genuine one? Who made the fake? Those are the questions. Also on the front page of the Daily Nation, IEBC defied expert advice in 3.8 billion shilling election kit tender. That's the other more shocking headline this morning. Let's start off with what is happening to Governor Ali Hassan Joho. And of course, on Taifa Leo, it was even more direct. It's been suggested that the governor is suffering, and if I could read that one, asukumwa kuhusu cheti cha masomo huku wengi wakiamini ni Uhuru anamnyorosha. That's what it reads on the front page of Taifa Leo this morning. Joho kona mbaya. And indeed it is true. He is in a very tight spot as we speak right now, because now he's been summoned by the CID for interrogation, and he is expected to record a statement over his academic qualifications. Let's start off with the women representative for Homa Bay County, Gladys Wanga. Of course the perception is Joho is paying for his feud with the president. But surely, if at all there are questions about someone's academic papers, this is the time to raise them.
And that is the exact opposite. Why now? Why is this the time to raise them? I think this is a classic case of intimidation, political witch hunt at its worst. What we are seeing is an angry president, a president who has lost self-control, a president who's going after everybody. We've seen him in political rallies. We've seen him everywhere, you know, sort of just running around. And what I would say is what the president is now doing is not a war against Joho. It is a war against the people. The people have now taken it to be their own war, and we were at Tononoka, and when you go all across the country, the people have not taken it to be just intimidation of Joho as one man. It is what Joho has stood for, which is standing up to a corrupt regime that is being fought, and the people have taken it as their war. And the president will get out of this with a big egg on his face spread. Yeah. But
Barak Muluka, of course, yes, people may blame the president, may accuse the president of being behind Governor Joho's wars, but surely looking on the other side, this is actually the time, a few weeks before party nominations, that aspirants are being vetted. And of course with the coming up of this new grouping called the Chapter 6 working group that checks not just on the academic qualifications but integrity of individuals and all these other things, is it right to solely blame it on President Kenyatta?
Well, we have got to look at this specific case, and maybe to advise ourselves as well that this may not be an isolated case. If it is true that Joho's papers are in doubt, there would be others. And so the question then arises that if this is indeed the season when we should be dealing with matters that pertain to fake papers? Why is it that we are not hearing about others? We have heard of people, and I beg your pardon, but this is the truth. We have heard of sitting members of Parliament, both in the National Assembly and in the Senate, and in other places as well throughout the country, who do not seem to have legitimate papers. So the question arises, why this specific one? I'm not saying that this sort of thing should be allowed to carry on. It is something that those of us who have labored very hard to study and get genuine papers, I'm a graduate of the University of Nairobi 3 times over, and it took a lot of intellectual labor to get there. Then you find people who are coming up with fake documents, and they are left to go scot-free, provided that they are politically correct. I think this is wrong. This is something that must be addressed, not just in this particular case, and the president and his government need to put on the appearance, at least at the very minimum, the appearance of credence by dealing with everybody else.
Yes. Like Barack Muluka says, would it help the situation if at all this was seen to cut across the political divide, that we see quite a number of more people, not just Joho? Okay, Joho is making headlines this entire week, mainly because of the president's statements that tutamnyorosha and such like. But surely, as Muluka says, everyone should be dealt with at once.
Yeah, absolutely. But before maybe I respond to that, I want to, and have myself having been a lecturer, I want to confirm that even if you got a D+ or a C, there is a program, for example, upgrading. You can maybe go to university, you can do a diploma. From a diploma, you can upgrade the subjects that maybe you didn't do well, then you can end up doing a degree. I know so many professors who did not even qualify for the entry. So it's actually possible. Somebody can get a low grade, then you can do a certificate, upgrade to a diploma to a degree, up to PhD. I know so many professors. If you look at where they started from, actually it's low, and it's allowed. In academia, it's allowed. You can bridge, you can upgrade up to a professor, so long as there's that commitment. So I just want to confirm that. It doesn't mean that when you get the minimum entry points to university, you cannot upgrade and get a degree. Now, coming to issues of Joho, these are very unfortunate incidents, because in the public domain, everybody sees that the regime is fighting Joho, particularly at such a time. You've seen Joho fought about this degree in Kampala University. He went again to enroll for the local university, GRESA, which is allowed, long distance learning, it's allowed. He's gotten that degree. And from the statements of the president saying we are going kumunyorosha, kumunyorosha, and coming from the head of state. So you can see there's a big conspiracy, maybe in the long run, to come and lock Joho out of the ballot. Everybody is thinking that way. And let me tell you one thing. Since this thing started, Joho, the president, Joho has become very popular. I went for a rally in Northeastern, you were in Kajiado, Western, everywhere. Public demand. They want to hear about Joho. Because the perception is this is a guy who is fighting corruption, who can be intimidated. Now there's a conspiracy by the state to fix him.
Yes.
So this is what is happening.
Okay.
Irrespective of whatever is going on. But looking at what Barack has said, it is true. If it's something to do like maybe it must cut across the political divide. We also want to see from the Jubilee side what is happening, so that this is not just witch hunt. We do appreciate, yes, matters of integrity, ABC, that everything must be put in a straight line. But for Joho's case, it has gone overboard, and in people's minds a conspiracy to frustrate him, and maybe in the long run to lock him out of the ballot.
Yes. And
they want to tell those people who are planning this, they'll not succeed.
Yes. Now ODM has come out and said they will defend Joho what come may. But should a party really stand by someone whose papers are not correct, if at all it is true that indeed there was some forgery somewhere?
Well, as my colleagues have said, the law must be followed. Chapter 6 is very clear, and therefore all of us are subject to Chapter 6. But when we have instances or cases where we see an outright witch hunt on an individual, then as a party, ODM or any other party for that matter, would stand by its member. So I would say that yes, ODM as a party will stand with the Joho to ensure that at least, you know, justice is seen to be done. Because from what we have heard, what we have seen, it looks that there is a direct vendetta on this particular governor, and therefore it's important that justice is seen to be done. And as regards to Chapter 6, as my brother Barak has said and all others who are here, yes, we want that to be implemented. Yes, we want it to be implemented, but across the board.
So if at all it is actually found that Governor Ali Hassan Joho's papers are not right, then the party will agree that he does not qualify for that post?
Well, there will have to be clear criteria. We would have to see the facts placed on the table for people to interrogate it, because we know that some of the institutions in these countries can be misused to intimidate and even punish innocent people. So in this case, like the Kenya National Examination Council, they would have to come out clearly and explain how these anomalies came about. Yes. How come they have not discovered all this? And then this also points to the fact that then our examination council and the examination system in this country is questionable. And therefore this calls for a need to overhaul. And I think we have seen Cabinet Secretary Matiang'i coming out very clearly, showing that the system is actually rotten. Yes. From all the way from the NEK even to our universities. So it's not a system or that you are going to correct today. Yes, it will take time.
Now, Gladys Wanga, of course, yes, Joho is on the headlines today. This is just one individual among thousands of aspirants. So there's this animal now that you're calling the Chapter 6 working group that is going to vet the integrity, the academic qualifications, criminal record of any of the aspirants. Do you think, are you confident in that working group that they're not going to be used to actually target or witch hunt in this matter?
Yeah, I think that is what has been raised by our brother Odishilo about the institutions within this country, because we know that sometimes these institutions have been used to go after certain individuals, and the note on which we are starting is not a very good note. First of all, we want to know about the president. What did the president score at St. Mary's that warranted him to go to Amherst? What did he study? Where is his degree? Because those questions have also been raised around that. So now if we are talking about academics, start from there. We want to know exactly what grades.
Do you think this Chapter 6 working group will actually do
and this is our fear, and we are challenging them. If they're going to do their job, let them start there, let them come down, let them go to everybody, and let them do that across the board in a clean manner. We know that even the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission in the past has been used to go after some governors, some individuals. Whenever the system is after you, they don't come directly, they go through some of these institutions. And when I was here last, what I said was, if we are going to do vetting, it has to be above board. If it is not above board, and if it is seen to target certain individuals, then the process will have lost credibility, and nobody will believe that that process. And what we don't want, you know, when we say, oh, bring people from the other side, they'll bring some small fish, you know, from Jubilee, and then say, you see, we have even thrown out this MCA here, this one here. No, have a clean process.
Of course, Bonamluka, politicians are not going to take kindly to this kind of vetting. It's only a few weeks to nomination day. Do you think this Chapter 6 working group will even have a chance to do its job and do it properly?
It depends on who is pulling the strings, who is behind Chapter 6. And
so even you don't see like they're doing it genuinely?
Not quite, because when we talk about Chapter 6, and in this particular context, we are starting with education. I have stated before that the Cabinet Secretary for Education is not competent to run education in this country, in spite of all the hullabaloo about him. Here is an individual who was teaching the Department of Literature at the University of Nairobi, and he left the University of Nairobi in November 2009 in disgrace. Why? He absconded from duty. He can go and look at his papers and his files. There is a clear letter to him indicating that you went away. You have been reminded many times to come back to the university. You have not responded to these letters. So he was eventually dismissed summarily. That kind of individual does not qualify to superintend over education, and over a process such as this, where we are looking at integrity in education. Moreover, there were students whom he was supposed to be supervising for their master's degree programs, and I'm glad I'm talking to fellow academicians here and the others who are watching outside there. The teachers in this country must know that their boss, their overall boss, cannot live up to the standards that he expects them to live up to, and therefore he cannot superintend over education. The Chapter 16 falls flat on its face. But the story doesn't end there. The principal secretary in that ministry had her PhD dissertation or thesis rejected.
And all this, Bonamuluka, you are able to substantiate?
Of course. And they know that I'm talking the truth. If they think that I'm not talking the truth, let them take me to court. And I will come with the evidence that the principal secretary, plagiarism, which is the worst offense in academia. Now, if you talk about plagiarism in academia and you talk about a fake degree, it is the same thing. It boils down to the same thing. So,
but apart from the Ministry of Education, there are so many other groupings and organizations that come into the Chapter 6 working group, the ESCC, DCI, DPP as well.
But here we are starting with education. It's the entry point. And from there we go right across the board. And I think that it's not just the politicians who should be vetted. Other people who occupy other positions. We have heard about the person in charge of the NGO board, a fellow whose academic background is completely miscellaneous. Can we also interrogate that individual? And we know that that individual is being used as a whip. Whenever there's anybody who needs to be sorted out, that is the individual that they resort to within the civil society. Yeah, so we must address that. We must look at people within the county government, across the board, within the Senate, within the public service, and others even within the private sector. We must restore the dignity of education and integrity.
Was Parliament involved in any way in coming up with this Chapter 6 working group? Because what parameters, for example, are they using to vet aspirants?
I think one thing we need to know is Chapter 6 is in the Constitution, and we also have an Act of Parliament that operationalizes that. But now when it comes to the issues of regulations towards the elections, IBC needs to come up with those regulations, and those regulations to be implemented, they must come through Parliament. So whatever they're doing does not yet come to Parliament.
Yes.
So we wait till it comes to Parliament. Parliament will look into it. Remember, Parliament represents people. So Parliament will look into those criteria, parameters. Really, are they above board? Or is a conspiracy just to lock out some individuals in one way or another? One thing I want to say is that I was sharing with a colleague from the Jubilee side. One of the requirements were that for you to be allowed to be cleared in Jubilee primaries, you must have certificate of good conduct, those things of ethics, TPP and all that. And one guy said, hey, why now? When His Excellency the President and his deputy were facing cases in ICC, such issues were not there. But now that they've cleared, why are they putting it now? And this guy was threatening to go to court. And that's why when you saw the issue of Songo issues coming here, people are asking, when the president and the deputy had cases in the ICC, those are something very serious. And they were allowed.
With this kind of mistrust from parliamentarians, do we really expect that the Chapter 6 working group
Parliament
will be allowed to work?
represents people. Article 38 of the Constitution is very clear in terms of the political rights. So if someone wants to derail or to go against your rights as stipulated in Article 38, it's the responsibility of Parliament. And the Parliament is the only house, is the only arm of government that legislates. So when you legislate, you are putting the law that must be fair, a law that is not going to go against the Bill of Rights. So really, whatever those agents, whatever they are doing, it must come to Parliament. And I want to tell Kenyans to know that the way it's stipulated currently, the way we did our last time when we went for elections, I think those of you who were in Parliament, there was no requirement anywhere. That you must go to the ethics and anti-corruption, that you must go to the bar, to the clearance, GI education loan. All those things were not there.
But now this new requirement will have to be vetted by Parliament?
It has to come to Parliament. Parliament must pass. If those are the IBC regulations, they must be through Parliament. So when that time comes, Parliament will exercise the authority.
For example, the Bonotichilo, the requirement for a degree is expressly for a degree. It does not talk about KCPE or KCSE papers. But now we're seeing a situation where NEK is digging deep to go and look at KCSE papers of an individual. Should they therefore do that for all other aspirants? That they should dig deep and not just target Bwana Joho probably, or look at his papers as a sole aspirant?
Logically, yes. Because you just can't pluck a degree from nowhere. There is education is a process. You must start from kindergarten all the way. So yes, they are justified to find out what process did you follow to get to the degree. So
but they should do that for everyone?
Yes, they must do everyone. Because you just didn't get a degree from nowhere. There was a process that you went through. You must have gone through this. To get into any degree program, there are requirements. So you must have fulfilled those requirements. So yes, it's true. They must be able to get to know. But as my brother Chris has said, we need regulations. It is the Parliament that passes the regulations that spells out how this process is to be done, because it has to be fair, it must be credible. But now, if the regulations have not been brought to Parliament, we have not interrogated those regulations and compared the regulation with the Chapter 6 articles, then what they are doing is an exercise in futility.
And it can be challenged in court.
Yet it can be challenged in court.
And just to wrap up this, of course, we do understand that in some quarters it is said, if at all this Chapter 6 working group was to really do its job and do it properly, then at least 50% of our current parliamentarians would not be allowed to vie for office on various matters, criminal, integrity matters, all this. Do you think Parliament will again be able to vet the same rules and agree and allow the group to continue its job?
I don't want to cast aspersions on Parliament at this point. I'd like to wait for that opportunity and then see how Parliament behaves. But I think that the brackets should be expanded to include everyone who holds public office, and public office can also become difficult to define at some point. People in the private sector as well, if the integrity is in question, let them also be touched.
Okay. In a short while we'll be taking a break, and when we return, still connected to the issue of integrity, of course, the front page of the Standard has a splash, no place to hide for kingpins. Uhuru's party unites with Raila's ODM to lock out election violence perpetrators. That has to do with issues of integrity as well, and ethics. And it's, of course, all these issues are coming up because nominations are up, party primaries in the next 2-3 weeks. Now, when we return also, Bwana Kabando, Member of Parliament for Mukurweini, will be joining this news review panel. You can notice that so far we only have the opposition side and Bwana Barak Muluka. Yes, Bwana Barak Muluka is a political analyst, a very objective one at that. So let's take a break. We'll be back.